Why does stroke happen? I will help decode it. This problem. So you won't feel confused anymore. For example, this is your artery, and outside the artery there are muscle layers. Behind these muscle layers, there is something called the basement membrane. This basement membrane helps store something called excess animal protein. The question is, where does excess animal protein come from? The human body is not designed like a carnivore's body, so the ability to digest animal meat is very poor. For example, an American-style beefsteak. We can only digest about 20% of it. The remaining 80% becomes waste and should be eliminated from the body. This leftover 80%, it can enter our bloodstream. At this point, in the blood, there will be a lot of protein molecules. These protein molecules have the ability to stick together. So when there are too many of them in the blood, it makes the blood become thick. When the blood is thick like this, it flows very slowly. But blood also carries something called oxygen and nutrients. Oxygen and nutrients are extremely important, and they must be delivered on time and in full to the organs. For example, our brain needs oxygen very much to function well. If the supply is too slow or insufficient, you may experience dizziness or fainting or even coma. That's why blood needs to flow quickly to deliver oxygen to the brain in time to deal with the situation of too much animal protein, which slows down the blood flow like this. These animal proteins must be stored somewhere temporarily. The basement membrane of the arteries can store these excess protein molecules. At first, the thickness of these cell membrane layers is very thin, but in order to increase their capacity, then it can become thicker than normal. It can be up to 10 times thicker. At first, the artery surface is very flexible, but because it contains too much animal protein, it becomes very brittle and easy to crack. When cracks appear like this, it can cause bleeding. To deal with this situation, at the cracked areas, blood clotting will occur. At this very moment, at the cracked areas, blood clots will form here. If these blood clots accidentally fall into the bloodstream, they will spread with the blood flow throughout the whole body. If these clots enter the blood vessels of the heart, they can cause heart attacks. And if they enter the blood vessels of the brain, they can cause a stroke. A stroke is when these blood clots enter the blood vessels in the brain and block them. When the blood vessels in the brain are blocked, they can no longer receive oxygen and nutrients, and that leads to a stroke. To stabilize these blood clots, the body will use cholesterol, called LDL and VLDL, already present in the bloodstream, so that cholesterol can stick to the artery walls. There must be something called lipoprotein. Lipoprotein comes in first and pulls the cholesterol toward it. Only then can cholesterol attach to the cracks, like this, to cover them up, preventing blood clots from entering the bloodstream. When cholesterol comes here to patch the cracks, it unintentionally blocks the blood vessel pathway, meaning that it causes our blood vessels to narrow, affecting blood flow. So the function of cholesterol is to patch these cracks, not to create a blockage. In the bloodstream, the reason cholesterol sticks to artery walls is because there are cracks there, and for cholesterol to stick to the arteries, it needs lipoprotein. We cannot blame cholesterol for blocking the arteries. There must be a reason for it to stick there. The presence of cholesterol actually helps prevent stroke because it stops blood clots from breaking loose. The core issue here is that you eat too much animal meat.